Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is forming a brand new pattern that I'll be talking about in just a moment. On top of that, I'll also be talking about the coming bullish cross in the daily MACD and what that means for Bitcoin, and the recent short-term pullback in the S&P 500, likely due to the Fed meeting happening today, and how all of this could impact the Bitcoin price. All of that and more in this video, so definitely make sure you're watching all the way to the end of this video so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, you might as well leave a like down below, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. But with that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. So right here on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame, and what we have here is that bullish divergence that I talked about yesterday on the channel. And so at this exact point right here, I said it's very likely in the immediate short term we're going to see reduced selling pressure, either in the form of sideways price action or a slight bounce back to the upside, and that's exactly what we have seen since yesterday. So when you're talking about the immediate short term for Bitcoin, it is most likely for us to see more sideways consolidation within this price range just here. And this price range that I'm talking about is really in between 51,000 and around 45,000. And that's exactly where the Bitcoin price has been trading over the past 11 days. Now, just before we talk about the coming bullish cross in the daily MACD for Bitcoin, I'll talk about this brand new pattern that is potentially forming in the Bitcoin price right now. And this pattern is known as a bump and run reversal pattern. Basically, it's a three-stage reversal pattern. We've got the lead-in phase right here, where the price action is constantly finding resistance multiple times. And then the second phase for this pattern is the bump phase. That is usually when the price action moves furthest away from this line of resistance. And so technically speaking, we are in that second phase of this pattern, but we haven't completed the second phase, because for that to happen, we need to come back up to this line right here and break above that line to enter into the third stage for this pattern, which is the run phase, the run back to the upside. And so right now, this level that we need to break above before we can start looking at a short-term trend reversal back to the upside, this level is coming in at around 52,000 US dollars. But of course, it is a descending line of resistance, so if we take another week to get to that level, then it is much closer to the current Bitcoin price at the time filming this video. You can see that Bitcoin has formed these patterns in the past. For example, this is the March 2020 crash. We had a very clear lead-in phase for the bump and run reversal, and then we had the bump to the downside. And then once we broke back above this line of resistance, then we entered the run phase, the trend reversal back to the upside. We also saw a pattern like this during the middle of this year. For example, back in April, that was the lead-in phase, and then during the May crash, that was the beginning of the bump. And then once the Bitcoin price broke back above this line of resistance, that confirmed the run back to the upside. Now, we saw something similar to this in the September correction, but I wouldn't exactly call this a bump and run reversal pattern, because we didn't really see a proper lead-in phase for this pattern. So because of that, once again, I would not call this a bump and run reversal pattern, but either way, it does share some attributes to the current price action. And so basically, once the Bitcoin price breaks above this descending line of resistance, that is one of the first major signals that we can look at to help confirm the recovery out of this correction. Another confirmation that we could potentially look at to confirm a recovery out of this correction is, first of all, on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, looking in the MACD, we are very close to a bullish cross, but I want to make it clear that right now we haven't confirmed a bullish cross just yet. So it could still be a couple days depending on the Bitcoin price action over the next couple days. But if we see more bearish price action in the immediate short term, that can delay this bullish cross even further. So just keep that in mind. Of course, it is just best to wait and see for the bullish cross to actually confirm the bullish cross. And as the name suggests, when we eventually see that bullish cross in the daily MACD, that is a bullish signal for Bitcoin. For example, taking a look at the last two bullish crosses in the daily MACD that we saw in negative territory. So when the MACD was below this center line right here, that was right here and also right around here. And first of all, what happened to Bitcoin before we saw these bullish crosses? Well, both times there, we actually saw a lot of bearish price action leading into the bullish cross both times here. And we saw the daily RSI come right down towards oversold territories. But in the example of the May crash, we did enter into oversold territories. And on this pullback so far, we have entered into oversold territories on the daily RSI. So essentially, according to the price oscillators right now, we are in a very similar situation to where we were back here and back here. And then once again, as soon as we confirm the bullish cross, which we haven't done just yet, but when we do see that happen, I mean, you can take a look at the last two times that that happened back here. In the one that happened at the end of September, almost immediately after the bullish cross, we saw a lot of bullish price action really kick in. But in the example that we saw back in May leading into June, we saw the bullish cross, and that did mark around to the bottom for that correction. But keep in mind, in this case, the price didn't really flip overly bullish until around 1.5 months after the bullish cross that we saw in the daily MACD. And combine that with the fact that right now the market markets are very fearful, which is exactly what we saw at the end of September, and that's exactly what we saw during May, June, and July. So when I'm looking at the charts, looking at the data in front of us, and taking all of this information into consideration, my personal Bitcoin strategy is to simply dollar cost average into Bitcoin. Yes, it's always a possibility that we could go lower. That's why I'm only dollar cost averaging, not going all in at any given price level. But this was my exact strategy back here during May, June, and July. And this was also my exact strategy during the end of September, just to simply dollar cost average into Bitcoin. And you can see what came next over the next few months. But I want to make it clear that that is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin. I'm simply just revealing my personal Bitcoin strategy and sharing the data that we have in front of us. And speaking of data in front of us, we've also got a huge amount of buy orders coming in between around 45,500 US dollars all the way down towards around 44,500. So in that price range right there for Bitcoin, once again, we have a lot of buy orders at that level that will help act as major support for the Bitcoin price if we go down towards those prices. Now, besides the fact that Bitcoin is still technically in a short-term downtrend, what are some other signals out there that could possibly be bearish for Bitcoin? And one of those potentially bearish signals could be the S&P 500 experiencing bearish price action. Around 3 weeks ago, I mentioned on the channel, and I was saying that that would very likely influence crypto prices in the shorter term, and that's exactly what we've seen over the past few weeks. And right now, the S&P 500 is still finding some major resistance at just above 4,700. And by the way, for the brand new viewers on the channel that have no idea why I'm covering the stock market in a crypto video, it's because, believe it or not, the stock market and Bitcoin are pretty correlated most of the time. For example, back in September, both Bitcoin and the stock market was seeing a correction at the exact same time. And then as we entered into October, the stock market flipped bullish again, just as Bitcoin flipped bullish again during October. And then towards the end of November, the stock market flipped bearish again, just the same as Bitcoin flipped bearish again. So there's absolutely no denying that there's at least some sort of correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market. And so obviously, if the stock market flips bullish and breaks into new all-time highs again, that would be a very bullish signal for Bitcoin. And in that case, honestly, it won't take too long after that for the Bitcoin recovery to begin. But because the S&P 500 is experiencing some short-term bearish price action again, once again, if that continues, that could negatively impact the Bitcoin price and crypto prices in general. And one of the possible reasons why the stock market is taking a short-term dip is because of the Federal Reserve meeting happening today. But really, we don't know the outcome of that meeting until the meeting is over. And so because of that fact, that places a bit of uncertainty into the minds of a lot of investors out there. And historically speaking, anytime there's uncertainty, the markets generally experience a decent amount of volatility. So we'll just have to wait and see what the outcome for that meeting will be. If you want to stay up to date in the markets at all times, make sure you follow me over on my Twitter, and the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. If you got something valuable out of this video, please make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on so that you're not missing out on any of these future updates that I post every single day. As always, I honestly do appreciate all of your support in the channel at the moment. I can't thank you guys enough. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.